What's up guys, I'm Sean. I recently upgraded my rear drum brakes to a rear disc brake conversion from SOS Performance. If you haven't seen that video yet, check it out. Now it's time to address the fronts. This is what I'm going with. Stainless steel brake lines from YotaMafia and Hawk LTS brake pads. These are supposed to be 20 to 40% more aggressive than OEM. This is the line that we're going to be replacing. The stock hose is made out of rubber, so it can potentially expand under heavy pressure or high heat. So going with a stainless steel brake line is going to minimize that. And the YotaMafia line is about 1 inch longer than stock, which is not as important in the front versus the rear. The YotaMafia rear lines I added are 4 inches longer because there's more flex with the solid rear axle. Now, as far as changing the pads, it's pretty straightforward. Remove the old pads, put in the new pads. But according to Hawk's instruction, line number 6, if we're just going to be replacing the pads only, they recommend to remove the contamination from the previous brake pads by removing the rotor and sanding it with 130 grit sandpaper. I'm going to do that just to get rid of the old OEM brake pad contamination. But since I'm going to pull off the caliper to remove the rotor, I'm going to do something extra. I'm actually going to paint the calipers as well. I don't like how it's all faded and dirty, doesn't look clean. I have my tray right there to collect dripping brake fluid. Loosen the line, 10 millimeter. And loosen this one too. Hard line removed and capped off. Now I'm going to pull off this. This one is off as well. Now I'm going to pull off this thing as well. So now the OEM line is completely off. Factory line compared to the YotaMafia line. The YotaMafia line is about 1 inch longer. Before I install the stainless steel line, I'm going to leave the brake fluid capped off and I'm going to get to the pads, caliper, and rotor. I'm going to remove this long pin in the back. Slides out like that. And there's a little hook right there. Take that like that. So now this thing is loose, but let's slide off the pin on top. This thing can come out. Now the pads can come out. Since I already moved the lines, if I push back the pistons, it's going to push out a little bit of brake fluid because I unhooked the lines. OEM pad, that's okay for a stock truck, but a truck with a lot of weight and 35s, OEM pad is not good enough. Now we're going to remove the caliper. 17 millimeter bolt right there, down there. I just turned the steering wheel to make it easier. Alright, this is the reason why I want to paint the OEM calipers. They both got equally cleaned with brake clean, some bike degreaser. This one looks fairly clean, but this one is stained. But that's the one thing I don't like about the OEM caliper. Painting it, it's going to keep it consistent and it's going to look a lot cleaner. I did final cleaning with acetone, and then I taped up areas I didn't want to paint, and then I masked the inside where the brake pads go and where the brake pistons are. Definitely not going to paint that, but everything else is fair game. And this is what I'm going with: VHT caliper paint in real red. I use this on my BMW track car and I like the results. Alright, the calipers have been painted. I sprayed about 4 or 5 coats, and VHT says to wait a minimum of 3 hours before handling. While it's drying, I'm going to work on the rotors. Alright, the Hawk brake pads, line number 6, says to get rid of the previous brake pad contamination by using 130 grit sandpaper. I don't have 130 grit, so I'm going to use this. I have 150 grit. So I'm going to lightly sand on this side, pull the rotor off, and sand on the other side. You can spin the rotor by hand. Tap it with a rubber mallet. Flip the rotor. I can spin and sand again. Brake clean. Flip the rotor back. Clean it some more. Alright, the calipers are dry. I removed the tape from the inside. This is where the brake pads will sit, so I don't want paint in there, nor will anybody see it. So the calipers look nice and shiny. Now it's time to install it. We install the caliper. We're going to torque the two bolts to 91 foot-pounds. Now I'm going to get ready to install the Hawk pads. These are the OEM pads. It has that little hook thing. I think that's just the pad wear indicator. It's not that important. So I'm just going to copy it. The Hawk one has that one right there. And the OEM pad has two backing plates. This is probably like for vented. Hawk already comes with it. So I'll just save this for the future. I'm going to install this into the Hawk pad. This is going to be the outside pad. And this one, same thing. It has two backing plates. I'm just going to use the one here. Put some grease backside of the back plate. Slide in the pads. Slide in the brake pad. This pin, the nub is on the outside. Just lining it up with the pad. Make sure that the pad is lined up to the hose, and then gently tap in the pin. So now we just have to put on this final spring clip. All the spring clips are lined up and installed correctly. The one back here goes out into the pin, and then hooks inside there, and it goes there. So, take a look at it now. Caliper looks really clean. The YotaMafia line came with these clips. It's pretty much reverse fashion. Install the one here first. I'm going to tighten it with a 10 and a 19. Position it first. 19 goes back here, and the 10 to tighten it. And it's only 8 foot-pounds, which is not much. Let's line this up. 19, one side, 10 on the other side, and 8 foot-pounds. I'm going to install this clip. It slides into that gap. And you just got to tap it in. Now this one goes here. Tap it in with a mallet. Alright, this side's pretty much done. Painted calipers, new Hawk LTS brake pads, YotaMafia stainless steel lines. So now I have to just clean up the brake fluid a little bit, do the other side, and then flush the brakes. The passenger side is done. Now it's time to bleed the brakes. I'm going to bleed the front passenger brake first. I'm running OEM Toyota fluid. Make sure that the fluid reservoir is filled up. My truck is a TRD off-road with the electric brake booster. My truck is on accessory 2, and my daughter's in the car. She's going to pump the brakes. Go ahead, pump it 3 times and hold it down. See how the air come out? Okay, let it up. Pump it 3 times and hold it down again. Do it a few more times. Make sure you keep an eye on the brake fluid reservoir. Definitely don't want it to run low. So continue to add fluid to top it off while you bleed the brakes. So now I just have to do the same for the other side. The brakes have been bled. It's pretty much done. Love the look of the red caliper. At least now it won't look stained like the OEM caliper. Here's the passenger side. So now I just have to slap on the wheels, go for a test drive. Alright guys, that's a wrap. Did a test drive in the back roads where I bed in the brakes. I also put it on a couple 100 miles daily driving. Brake pedal feels nice and firm, just like factory. The brake pads don't squeak or anything like that. So it's a noticeable upgrade. It's not 9-day difference like the rear disc conversion, but it is noticeable. The front brakes grab a little harder than before, so the brake bias feels a little bit more balanced with the rear disc conversion. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like, subscribe. Thanks for watching.